Explosive new prison footage exposes officials searching Diddy's cell, sparking major concerns over government misconduct. The defense argues this blatant rights violation could shift the entire case, while prosecutors dismiss any wrongdoing. Could this footage be the game-changer in Diddy's legal battle? Newly surfaced footage from inside Sean Diddy Combs' prison cell is sending shockwaves through the courtroom. Captured during a contraband sweep at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, the video reveals officials rifling through his personal belongings, raising serious doubts about the government's handling of evidence. This latest development reignites fierce debates over Diddy's treatment behind bars and its potential impact on his federal racketeering and sex trafficking case.
Combs' defense team is not slowing down over the holidays. Instead, as their client sits in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, denied bail on multiple occasions by multiple federal judges, the attorneys have filed another motion in support of a hearing. They are alleging that a search done at the MDC by the Bureau of Prisons was actually a ruse to get into Combs' jail cell and dig for information. As a quick reminder, Combs, who is a music mogul, Bad Boy Records founder, producer, and entrepreneur, is facing federal charges out of the Southern District of New York. A grand jury indicted Combs on 3 federal charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution, all of which he pleaded not guilty to. Combs traveled from his home in Miami to New York back in September, which his defense says was because he was planning to turn himself in, but instead he was arrested and he's been behind bars ever since. According to federal prosecutors, Combs used his money and influence to force people to participate in what has been called freak-offs, which are hours-long sexual performances that involve commercial sex workers, drugs, and camera equipment.
The footage reportedly exposes prison officials rummaging through Diddy's cell, handling items marked as legal, fueling allegations of misconduct from his defense team. Among the photographed items were notes suspected to contain trial strategies, witness cross-examination plans, and other privileged information. The defense argues that this blatant violation of Diddy's constitutional rights was disguised as a routine contraband sweep, but was, in reality, a deliberate attempt to access sensitive legal material.
The defense claims that the Bureau of Prisons investigator, referred to as Investigator 1, copied notes that Combs had written down in his cell, possibly information that was privileged. Now, back in October, there was a raid by federal investigators at the MDC. According to reports, the MDC is notorious for drugs, weapons, and violence. Officials were reportedly looking for any sort of contraband the inmates might have. Combs was questioned and photographs were taken of items in his cell. Now, according to a file from federal prosecutors, the sweep was pre-planned and coordinated to ensure the safety and security of the staff and inmates at the MDC, and was part of a larger safety and security initiative and not in response to any particular threat or intelligence. The MDC sweep planned well in advance of the defendant's arrest and not conducted to target any particular inmate, included the jail and the warehouse where MDC food and other property are stored. During the MDC sweep, multiple housing units were searched, including the defendant's unit. Although the case team, members of the government responsible for investigating, charging, and trying the present case, were aware in advance that the defendant's housing unit, in addition to other areas of the jail.
Federal prosecutors deny any misconduct, insisting the search was part of a broader effort to maintain security within the MDC. They claim that all materials were reviewed by a filter team, an independent group of legal professionals responsible for separating privileged documents from admissible evidence. However, Diddy's attorneys challenge this, arguing that the filter team's protocols were flawed, ultimately allowing critical defense information to reach the prosecution.
Diddy is saying that this raid never should have taken place, and the only reason they raided the place is because Diddy was staying there. The prosecution is looking at Diddy saying, "Have you lost your mind? What's not clicking? Like, are you losing it? Are you okay? Guards, check yourself for Tucci." That's what's going on. But let me read you the latest letter, okay? And then after I read you the latest letter, it's gonna be really quick. We're gonna get into exactly what this means, because this is not good for Diddy. Okay, so the letter says, "Dear Judge, the government respectfully submits the attached declarations in response to the January 3rd order and further support of its opposition to the defendant's motion for a hearing and other relief. The government has signed $1 million affidavit saying, we did not plan the NBC raid. No, we didn't leak this to the news. No, we didn't do this.
Prosecutors have accused Diddy of attempting to intimidate witnesses by using other inmates' phone accounts to make unauthorized calls. These allegations have further weakened his chances of securing bail, with the court emphasizing his potential threat to the integrity of the legal process. Federal prosecutors are now closely monitoring his communications as they build their case for trial.
Prosecutors from the Southern District of New York submitted an opposition brief to Sean Combs' motion for bail that they are hoping that this new judge, in this case, Judge Arun Subramanian, will hear. And as we're going to lay out, prosecutors say not only is Sean Combs not entitled to bail, but essentially he shouldn't even get a hearing on this. And remember, Combs is currently in detention at the Metropolitan Detention Center out in Brooklyn, New York, after being denied bail by other judges. The main issues keeping him locked away are that the courts have held that prosecutors have shown that he is a danger on the outside, he's a potential flight risk. Most notably was evidence put forward that he had been improperly contacting victims and witnesses in this case. And as we discussed on previous sidebars, Sean Combs' counsel has denied all this. They've indicated that all of those conversations were not done with the intent to engage in witness tampering or obstruction. And even, at least they say, one witness had contacted Combs, not the other way around. Well, the government has come out with new evidence of its own to justify pretrial detention.
In response to the footage, Diddy's defense team is intensifying demands for a court hearing to scrutinize the motives and procedures behind the search. They argue that the footage validates their claims of government overreach and improper evidence handling. Now, the defense is pushing for 3 possible remedies: appointing a special master to oversee evidence management, excluding certain materials from trial, or, most drastically, dismissing the charges altogether.
Defense might have important or pertinent information that needs to be turned over to the prosecution under the rules of discovery, but that information might also be protected by attorney-client privilege. The filter team serves kind of as a middleman. It's a group of prosecutors not involved in the case who sift through the evidence to pick out anything that shouldn't be shared with the prosecuting attorneys and remove or redact that from the discovery material. The prosecution wrote that accusing the Bureau of Prisons investigator of working on behalf of the prosecutors is meritless. The mere fact that a prison official turned over material seized from a detainee's cell to prosecutors after the fact with no prior coordination regarding the seizure does not show that he acted at their behest. In fact, courts have repeatedly held that searches initiated by prison officials, even where those prison officials later turned over evidence seized from those searches to prosecutors, and such evidence was helpful to a prosecution against the defendant, do not implement the Fourth Amendment.
Diddy's defense is set to argue that any sexual encounters were consensual, aiming to undermine the credibility of the alleged victims by exposing inconsistencies in their statements. Meanwhile, prosecutors are focused on proving coercion and force as central elements of their case. They are expected to rely on key witnesses, including Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, who has accused him of prolonged abuse and reportedly possesses video evidence to support her claims.
This is even more important. Combs' lawyers argue that we need these videos because they prove our client didn't commit the crimes he's charged with. In their letter, they write, quote, "Having reviewed these videos, it is now abundantly clear that they confirm Mr. Combs' innocence and that their full exculpatory value cannot be investigated and used unless they are electronically produced. The 9 videos at issue are the so-called freak-off tapes with victim 1 that the government has repeatedly referenced, causing wild speculation in the media. Contrary to what the government has led this court and the public to believe, the so-called freak-offs were private sexual activity between fully consenting adults in a long-term relationship. Like many Americans in the privacy of their own bedrooms, they sometimes film their sexual activity. These videos unambiguously show that the person alleged in the indictment to be victim 1 not only consented, but thoroughly enjoyed herself." And we believe, by the way, victim 1 to be Cassandra Ventura. This is Diddy's ex, who first filed that initial sexual assault lawsuit against Combs back in 2023. She was in.
Dee Woods, former member of the chart-topping girl group Donity Kane, has broken her silence about her experiences working with music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. In an exclusive interview with ABC News, she described a verbally abusive and predatory work environment under Diddy's management. Her revelations emerge as Diddy faces federal charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, with his trial set to begin in May 2025.
We were chosen. I was like, it's bad boy for life, baby.
She says what should have been a dream come true quickly became something else, alleging Diddy created a verbally abusive work environment.
I'm curious why you decided to speak up now.
I would say that this moment now is a time where I feel like my experience, my truth will really be heard and actually considered and believed.
Dee Wood sharing her story as part of a new investigation discovery docuseries, The Fall of Diddy.
From the outside, he was this mogul. He was this guy who, could make your dreams come true.
Unsettling scenes like this, a reminder of what it was like on Making the Band.
Juanita, what's your stomach looking like? For real, are you feeling a little thick?
I always feel thick next to these skinny chicks.
You're like a burger away.
He did it in different ways with all of us. Picking and prodding and just a way to chip and knock away, but then praise you. I see myself standing in those dark, scary, predatory spaces and hearing somebody say some of the most degrading things to me.
How was it predatory?
Somebody constantly treating you like a piece of meat.
Sean Diddy's Combs has filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit against Courtney Burgess, attorney Ariel Mitchell, and News Nation. The lawsuit comes in the midst of his ongoing legal battle against federal charges of racketeering and sex trafficking, charges he has pleaded not guilty to. Combs' legal team asserts that these recent allegations have severely damaged his reputation and compromised his right to a fair trial.
Combs has filed his own lawsuit, claiming he's been defamed by a man named Courtney Burgess, Burgess's attorney Ariel Mitchell, and cable news network News Nation, and he wants a minimum of $50 million in damages. And full disclosure here, Ariel Mitchell has appeared as a guest here on Law and Crime a handful of times. Burgess and Mitchell appeared on News Nation on October 31st, 2024, and said Burgess possessed videotapes that showed Sean Combs having sex with other celebrities, some who were minors. Now, to be clear, these are allegations made by Courtney Burgess, and so far, we haven't found reports of anyone else who has viewed these tapes or can verify their contents. Ariel Mitchell has said she has seen screenshots. Burgess and Mitchell claimed that he testified earlier on October 31st in front of the federal grand jury investigating Sean Combs. Again, Combs has denied these claims. And his lawsuit states, defendant Burgess falsely claimed that he possessed videos of Mr. Combs.
Courtney Burgess alleged on News Nation that he possessed videos showing Combs engaged in sexual acts with other celebrities, including minors. Attorney Ariel Mitchell further claimed to have seen screenshots of the alleged tapes. However, Combs has strongly denied these accusations, asserting that the tapes do not exist and accusing Burgess of fabricating the claims for personal and financial gain.
Celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, 2 to 3, possibly 3, appeared to be minors, all appeared inebriated, and all, to be honest, were victims of sexual assault. The suit claims Burgess first contacted Mitchell about selling a sex tape that he claimed to have that showed Sean Combs and a male celebrity that he said he received from Sean Combs' late partner and the mother of his 4 children, Kim Porter. Again, Combs is alleging that Burgess's claims regarding the contents of the tapes are false. The lawsuit states, upon information and belief, sometime in or around September 2024, Burgess contacted Mitchell seeking to team up with a lawyer in an attempt to legitimize and/or profit from his outrageous lies. Combs' lawyers claim Burgess has never met Sean Combs or members of his family. But the suit states, nevertheless, Burgess has claimed on multiple occasions that Kim Porter, the mother of 4 children with Mr. Combs who died in 2018, provided him with a copy of her memoir and videos depicting Mr. Combs sexually assaulting.
The lawsuit accuses News Nation of amplifying these false claims without conducting a proper investigation. It alleges that the network recklessly aired Burgess and Mitchell's statements despite a complete lack of evidence to support their allegations. Combs argues that the platform's negligence has only further tarnished his reputation.
We'll move on now to News Nation's role in this. And they're a news outlet and they have broad protections, but they also, as a news person myself, you have to do your best to try to verify these claims. What was their responsibility here in investigating this before allowing Courtney Burgess and Ariel Mitchell to make these claims on the air?
Well, Sean Combs says in the lawsuit, and all I know is what the lawsuit says, but the theory why News Nation or the parent company Nexstar Media is responsible is that you, media entity, you not only passed along what was said by Mr. Burgess and Ms. Mitchell, but you adopted those statements. You vouched for them. You expanded on those statements in a way that went beyond being neutral and objective. That's the theory from Sean Combs. Whenever people go on TV or radio or internet podcast and make alleged defamatory statements, it's not always the media entity that's always being sued. But here, Sean Combs says you went beyond that. You actually embraced and credited what Sean Combs says are false statements.
Recent reports suggest that Diddy had a meltdown during the holidays, reportedly begging guards to take him to a hospital. One source close to him described his distress, while another insisted that he remains mentally strong, despite deeply missing his family during the festive season. Meditation techniques are said to have helped Diddy regain his composure after the emotional breakdown.
The holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, "He eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it." This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's suicide watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protective unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this meltdown over the holidays, at least according to one source. Another source, though, disagrees with all of this. They say Diddy is staying strong in jail despite missing his family a great deal at Christmas, which is a time he often spends with his children.
When first taken into custody, Diddy was placed on suicide watch as a precautionary measure. This supervisory arrangement, enforced by the U.S. Department of Justice's National Institute of Corrections, involves frequent observation to prevent self-harm among inmates. After being removed from suicide watch, Diddy was transferred to a special protective unit for a few weeks before being moved to general population.
Probably finally getting to him, so I'm not surprised that he cracked.
You're right, it's definitely a change of tune from his lavish mansions at the holiday season to what he's experiencing right now. As far as the mental health side of things, I remember when Diddy was first arrested, he was put on suicide watch, so obviously keeping tabs on his mental health. Here in this instance, he apparently was asking for the guards to take him to the hospital so he could be treated there. Is this something that we're going to keep an eye on, Diddy's mental health behind bars?
I think so, and obviously, we haven't seen him, but your colleague Elizabeth has reported that he looks like he's lost some weight and he has some more gray and white hairs. I think it's taken a toll on him, and I think that he expected for some reason that he would be out on bond, and obviously that hasn't happened. There were 3 different bail applications that were denied by 3 different judges, and ultimately they withdrew their appeal. So now that it's hitting him that he's going to be in custody at least until May 2025, I think he's just having a tough time.
So, what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more updates, and hit that bell so you never miss a thing.